Leadership the magazine. Presents. Peter's tax payment by fishing with a hook. When they came to Capernaum, the collectors of the 2 drachma tax came to Peter and said to him, "Does not your master pay the 2 drachma tax?" He said, "Yes." When he was entered into the house, Jesus spoke to him first, saying, "What do you think, Simon? From whom do the kings of the earth collect taxes or duties? From their own children, or from strangers?" Peter answered, "From strangers." Jesus said to him, "Then the children are exempt. Nevertheless, so as not to offend them, go to the sea and cast in a hook. The first fish that you catch, take it, and when you open its mouth, you will find a penny. Take it and give it to him for me and for you." The story we are referring to is found in Matthew 17 verses 24 to 27. In this passage, the temple tax collectors ask Peter if his teacher, Jesus, pays the tax. Jesus, knowing what was happening, asks Peter to go to the sea, cast a hook and take the first fish he catches. When he opens his mouth, he will find a coin that will be used to pay the tax for both of them. I will explain this passage to you below. 1. The authority of Jesus. Jesus, as the Son of God, was not obliged to pay the tax, since everything belongs to him. However, he decides to do so in order not to cause scandal and to show respect for human laws. This reflects humility and wisdom. 2. Divine providence. The fact of finding a coin in the mouth of a fish shows how God has absolute control over everything and provides in unexpected ways. God always has resources that we cannot even imagine. 3. The obedience of Peter. Although what Jesus asked seemed unusual or surprising, Peter obeyed without question. This teaches that faith and obedience are key to seeing miracles and divine solutions. 4. The spiritual message. Beyond paying a tax, this act symbolizes that Jesus came to fulfill the law and to free us from our burdens. He pays for us, just as he paid for Peter, thus anticipating his final sacrifice to redeem us. Theology of the miracle. Having made these preliminary clarifications, we move on to the exegetically analysis of the text to discover its theological background. A superficial reading could make us think that Jesus questions his payment of the temple tax, but this is not the case. Jesus, far from having been hostile to the temple, wanted to pay this tax together with Peter. So what is Jesus trying to clarify by saying that the children are exempt? What he is doing is putting the temple tax in its true religious dimension, as we explain below. Although the word temple does not appear in this episode, only didrachma appears, v. 24, it is certainly referring to the temple tax that was inaugurated by God's instructions to Moses, who led the people of Israel through the desert to the Promised Land for 40 years. They decided to take a census of the people who might not please God. Each person would give a ransom of 6 grams of silver so that nothing bad would happen to them when they were registered. Exodus 30 verses 11 to 16. So the tax had the clear purpose of ransoming their lives, giving a material good of a certain value so that God would respect their lives. It is, then, a payment of atonement for the Israelites, the ransom of salvation of all Israel before God. And isn't that precisely what Jesus comes to do? The Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. 20:28. The intention of the Son is to ransom us by giving his life. Perhaps that is why, when Jesus tells Peter to go fishing and take the coin from the mouth of the fish and pay for me and for you, it is really Jesus, using the fish, who will pay Peter's ransom. It will be he who will pay, with his passion, death, and resurrection, the ransom for all. In this way, Jesus himself, with a deeply contemplative vision, interprets the real meaning of the temple tax, the ransom of Israel that, with him, will become a reality. In all the gospel narratives, this is one of the few miracles that Jesus seems to do for his own benefit. But in reality, this is not the case. The giving of his life is the tax that God imposed to ransom the people of Israel. Jesus wanted to found his church as the new people of Israel, which includes all the baptized. Therefore, Jesus, in some way, in this passage, is the true tax that also ransoms all of us Christians. The omniscience of Jesus has often been highlighted because he knew what Peter had previously spoken to the tax collectors, as well as the future knowledge of the fish that Peter would later catch with a coin in his mouth. But what is really impressive is the deeply theological interpretation that Jesus makes when relating everything that is happening with his messianic and redemptive mission. All of the above would better explain Jesus' reaction in this peculiar story. In fact, everything in it seems to lead to the confession of faith that the Christian proclaims, like Peter, "Truly you are the Son of God." 14:33. In conclusion, this story leaves us with great teachings about the humility of Jesus, the providence of God, and the importance of obedience and faith in difficult situations. Leadership, the magazine. Who is like God? He is a messenger of love.
Liderazgo, the magazine. Forjando líderes a través de la educación en valores. Descubre un canal que inspira y educa, ofreciendo contenido educativo, social e informativo. Únete a nosotros en la misión de formar líderes del mañana, promoviendo principios y valores fundamentales. Suscríbete.